I'm sure you all know this guy, Joe Rogan.
Have you seen the recent images that they got from Mars of that big square? What the that?
One of the most popular podcast hosts in the world. He's talking with his guest about a strange formation spotted on Mars. His guest responds, "If someone told me this was a drone image taken somewhere in South America, I'd say they just discovered the remains of an ancient civilization. And when you look at it, you see a structure with nearly perfect geometric shapes, with edges forming precise 90-degree angles." Now, when Joe Rogan shared this and Elon Musk jumped in with a comment, it naturally turned into a viral phenomenon. In his response, Elon Musk said, "We need to send astronauts to Mars to investigate." Of course, social media went wild. Some people were convinced it was undeniable proof of alien activity, while others dismissed it as just another rock formation. But are these kinds of events, things that capture people's attention so intensely, really new? Not at all. In fact, we all experience something similar in our daily lives. We look at clouds and see faces. We mistake a coat hanging in the dark for a person. Some people even claim to see the face of Jesus on a piece of toast. That's just how our brains work. They're constantly searching for familiar patterns. Scientists call this phenomenon pareidolia. It's our tendency to see human-like features in inanimate objects or abstract images. Even when listening to music, we sometimes hear words that aren't really there. Here's another example. In 1954, some people claimed to see a devil's face, hidden in the design of a Canadian dollar bill. Others said they spotted an eerie, exaggerated grin in the patterns of Queen Elizabeth's hair. And if we go even further back, we can see how this concept has been used as a tool in art, an intentional way to play with perception. For example, in the 1566 painting, The Lawyer, the face appears to be a bizarre collection of fish and poultry, while the body looks like a stack of books draped in a coat. In other words, our ability to see one thing as something else is not just a well-known phenomenon. It has been used as a tool in art for centuries. To truly understand this, we can go back thousands of years. Let's see what the scientist Carl Sagan had to say about it. The first humans who saw the silhouette of a lion hiding in the bushes ran away immediately. Maybe they looked foolish if there was nothing there, but those who assumed there was a lion, whether it was real or not, were the ones who survived. So, our ability to recognize patterns, to see familiar shapes in random things, is not just a trick of the mind. It's an actual survival skill. It's a trait that helped us stay alive for thousands of years. But now, let's come back to the strange square structure on Mars. What do you see when you look at it? Is it just another illusion created by our brains? To find out, let's look at the original image. This picture was captured by the Mars Orbiter camera. Between 1997 and 2006, this spacecraft orbited Mars and sent back around 250,000 images just like this one. But the photo we're talking about was actually taken in 2001. And if you think this mysterious shape was only recently discovered, you'd be mistaken. It also went viral in 2016 and 2020. It seems like every few years, we keep coming back to it. When we zoom in on the image to find this strange formation, the so-called mystical square becomes clearly visible. This long, narrow photograph spans about 3 kilometers in width, and the mysterious shape is right there within it. If the entire image is 3 kilometers wide, then that means this formation itself must have edges roughly 1.5 kilometers long. And if you look closely, it's not actually a perfect square. It's more of a rectangle. Does it look like the ruins of an ancient structure to you? Could it be something that was actually built by someone? Maybe it really is something worth investigating. Ignoring that possibility might be a mistake. Now imagine for a moment, what if we actually discovered an ancient structure on Mars? It would change the course of history forever. Everything written, everything we thought we knew, would have to be rewritten. Entire belief systems would be shaken. As a species, we'd be forced to reconsider our existence, our place in the universe, and our significance. That's why this is a topic worth exploring. And because it is worth exploring, these kinds of things are being researched, but they don't always make it to social media. For example, 131 years ago, in 1894, something similar happened. Astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli and later Percival Lowell, influenced by his work, claimed to have observed what they called canals on Mars. Today, some scientists explain these as mere optical illusions, but back then, they were marked on detailed maps of the Martian surface. Schiaparelli even named these long, straight lines after famous rivers on Earth. People were fascinated. They wanted to hear more. And as expected, some astronomers started saying, "Look, there are canals. That must mean intelligent beings once lived there." So, do you believe in Martians? Back in those days, newspapers were publishing sensational headlines, and Professor Percival Lowell made a bold statement. As the melting of the South Polar Cap progressed, the canals began to appear. This suggests that life could exist far beyond Earth. Lowell, much like today's famous influencers, was deeply inspired by these discoveries, and as a result, some incredibly wealthy and powerful individuals also became fascinated with his research. One of them was none other than Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone. In a letter he wrote, Bell stated, "There is no escape from the conviction that Mars is inhabited by a highly civilized and intelligent race, carrying out agricultural processes to sustain itself." Sounds absolutely crazy, right? But this was coming from the man who invented the telephone. So, what happened next? Well, it turned out there were no canals on Mars. It was all a product of imagination and illusion. The debate finally ended when NASA's Mariner 4 spacecraft was sent to Mars and took the first close-up images of the planet. There were no canals, not even anything that could be misinterpreted as one. Upon closer inspection, scientists realized that the so-called Martian canals were nothing more than an optical illusion. Looking back at this and similar stories, it's a perfect example of why skepticism is important, especially when it comes to bold claims and widely accepted beliefs. It also highlights how personal biases and preconceived ideas can shape the way we collect and interpret data. Now we find ourselves facing a similar situation. But this time, we have better technology, better photographs, and most importantly, a much more skeptical and advanced scientific community, one that has learned from the past. So let's take another look at this image. We could choose to believe that it's the remains of an ancient fortress-like structure. Or let's look just below it. Do you see that shape? Some people say it resembles a human face. And what's interesting is that all of these formations are located in the same region. But here's another question. Don't we have similar strange geometric formations on Earth? Of course we do. Take a look at this 1768 engraving. If we had seen a structure like this in a Mars photo, what would we think? Yet, this formation is not on Mars, it's right here on Earth. It's a completely natural geological formation in Northern Ireland, created by volcanic activity. The structure consists of hexagonal columns formed naturally over thousands of years. Now, where else do we see hexagons? We see them at the North Pole of Saturn. One is created by atmospheric conditions and the other by geological processes. Both can be explained without invoking ancient alien theories. That's why, when analyzing images from Mars, we shouldn't jump to conclusions or get carried away by conspiracy theories. Instead, the smarter approach is to consider all possibilities first. Try testing your analytical thinking skills for a moment. We have two possible explanations in front of us, right? First, there was once an advanced civilization on Mars that built massive structures. Second, these formations were created by natural geological processes, and there's nothing mysterious or supernatural about them. Which one sounds more exciting? And more importantly, which one is actually true? For now, the boring technical explanation seems to be the correct one. But let's be honest, which is more thrilling? Discovering traces of an ancient Martian civilization, or realizing that the human brain is so incredible that it searches for meaning, even in a rock formation millions of kilometers away. In this vast expanse of space and time, there's room for everything: energy, frequencies, mysticism, belief systems, historical events we have yet to uncover, and maybe even other life forms. So, what do you think? Have they already found us? Or have they been here all along? For more mind-blowing discoveries that bridge the past and the future, make sure to follow and stay tuned.